The military base in Georgia was buzzing with the sound of engines, boots, and shouted orders. It was one of those hot southern afternoons where the sun beat down mercilessly, and the smell of oil, metal, and sweat filled the air. Inside the large maintenance hangar, soldiers worked on different vehicles, tanks, jeeps, and aircraft engines, but one vehicle sat untouched, a massive military engine that had been broken for months. General Robert Harrison stood beside it with a smug grin. A tall, broad-shouldered man with graying hair and decades of service behind him, he was known for his strictness and sarcasm. He was chatting with his officers when a young recruit walked in, a quiet black man named Private Jamal Reed. Jamal was new to the base, a recent recruit with a humble background. He grew up fixing old cars with his grandfather in Alabama. While other kids played outside, Jamal spent hours tinkering with engines, turning wrenches, and learning to bring dead machines back to life. He wasn't flashy, but he had a sharp mind and a calm, confident presence. The general noticed him and smirked. Well, look who we have here. The new recruit who scored perfect on the mechanical test. You think you can fix anything, son? Jamal straightened. Sir, I'll do my best, sir. Harrison chuckled and pointed at the massive engine. See that thing? Best engineers on this base couldn't get it running. If you can fix it, I'll marry you myself. The room erupted in laughter. Even the mechanics nearby shook their heads, grinning. It wasn't meant as an insult, just typical military banter, but the tone carried something deeper, something dismissive. Jamal didn't laugh. He simply looked at the engine and said quietly, "Challenge accepted, sir." The hangar went silent for a moment. Harrison raised an eyebrow. You serious? Yes, sir, Jamal replied calmly. Harrison folded his arms. All right, Private, you've got 3 hours. Let's see what you're made of. Everyone watched as Jamal approached the massive machine. It was a high-tech diesel hybrid used in armored vehicles, full of complex wiring and circuits. Many had tried to repair it, but it refused to start. Jamal removed his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and got to work. He moved with purpose, checking valves, tracing wires, tightening bolts. He didn't rush, but every movement showed experience. The officers whispered among themselves, amused at first, but then curious. He wasn't fumbling around like a beginner, he was diagnosing like a professional. Minutes turned into an hour. Sweat rolled down Jamal's forehead, but he kept working. Occasionally, he'd ask for a specific tool or part, and even the other mechanics started helping him, intrigued by his calm confidence. General Harrison watched from a distance, sipping coffee, shaking his head. Kids got guts, he muttered. By the second hour, Jamal had replaced a cracked fuel line, rewired part of the ignition, and adjusted the timing belt. When he climbed into the cockpit and turned the ignition, the hangar went completely still. Everyone held their breath. He turned the key. At first, there was only silence, then a cough, a rumble, and finally, the engine roared to life. The sound was deafening, steady, powerful. The soldiers jumped and cheered. Tools clattered to the floor as everyone erupted in applause. General Harrison dropped his coffee, mouth hanging open. You've gotta be kidding me, he muttered. Jamal stepped out, wiping his hands on a rag. Sir, he said respectfully, engines ready for inspection. The general walked over, still in disbelief. He examined the humming machine, then looked at Jamal. How in the world did you? Just needed a little patience and understanding, sir, Jamal said simply. Engines talk, if you listen long enough. The men around them burst into laughter, clapping Jamal on the back, but this time the laughter wasn't mocking, it was proud. Harrison shook his head and grinned. Private Reed, you might just be the best mechanic I've ever seen. Then, with a wink, he added, guess I owe you a proposal, huh? The hangar erupted again, this time with friendly laughter. Even Jamal cracked a small smile. But that wasn't the end of the story. The next morning, Jamal was summoned to the general's office. He walked in, standing at attention. Harrison gestured for him to sit. Private Reed, I did some checking, the general began. You worked at Reed Auto Services in Birmingham, right? Yes, sir. My grandfather started that shop. He taught me everything I know. Harrison nodded. Your grandfather was Sergeant Elijah Reed, served under my command in the Gulf War. Saved my life when our convoy was hit. Jamal's eyes widened. Yes, sir. He told me stories about that. Harrison leaned back, emotion flickering across his face. That man was one of the bravest soldiers I ever met. Never knew he had a grandson in the service. For a moment, both men were silent. Then the general stood. Private Reed, I owe your family a debt. And after yesterday, I can see courage runs deep in your bloodline. He handed Jamal a document. It was a recommendation letter, for an accelerated promotion to sergeant and a placement in the elite technical division. Jamal was stunned. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say yes, Harrison said with a grin. You earned it. That week, Jamal was transferred to a specialized engineering unit. His story spread across the base like wildfire. The engine challenge became a legend, a tale of humility, skill, and quiet determination. Months later, during a large military exhibition, the same engine Jamal fixed was showcased. General Harrison stood proudly beside it, giving a speech about innovation and leadership. He ended it with a smile and said, "Sometimes, the smartest man in the room isn't the loudest, he's the one who listens." Then he looked at Jamal in the crowd and gave a respectful salute. Jamal saluted back, a quiet pride in his eyes. The crowd applauded, but Harrison wasn't done yet. He took the microphone again and added, "And for the record, I'm still not marrying him." Everyone laughed, but behind the humor was deep respect. From that day on, Jamal Reed became known as the Engine Whisperer. He went on to train hundreds of recruits, teaching them not just mechanics but also patience, respect, and focus. He would often tell them, fixing a machine is like leading people, you can't force it. You have to understand it. Years later, when General Harrison retired, his farewell ceremony included a surprise gift, that same repaired engine, now polished and mounted as a monument. On the base of it was a plaque that read, "Greater than, dedicated to Private Jamal Reed, proof that brilliance needs no rank, only heart." The general stood by it, wiping away a tear. "That kid taught me more than any officer ever did," he said softly. And somewhere across the base, Jamal smiled as he watched young recruits train, the same way he once did, ready to face challenges, fix engines, and maybe, just maybe, change minds. Because sometimes, it only takes one quiet man with determination to turn mockery into admiration, and a broken engine into a symbol of respect. And that's how the line that started as a joke, "Fix this engine and I'll marry you," became a legend in the U.S. Army, told to every new recruit as a reminder, never underestimate anyone, no matter where they come from. For greatness doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it simply gets to work, rolls up its sleeves, and fires up the engine.